95 XP lock wire on the exhaust video. 95 XP jet ski, 717, 720, depending on what you're doing in life. But we have this area right here is with the muffler. Right outside of the motor, it gets really hot. If you have an RC airplane or anything like that, you know what this is. This is the place that will shake loose. It's hot, lots of expansion and contraction, and it shakes like crazy. And so this is the area a lot of times that will let go. And if you ever wanted to just be kind of a jerk, you could loosen this. If you ever hear somebody say, oh, he has a screw loose, oh, he's got a screw loose, well, maybe that person went in and loosened one of your screws, and that's real easy to do. And if that's your key to breathing, well, I gotta say Elon Musk, that's it. But this is ground. It's something I did, because normally there's a post right here, and that's really a pain in the butt. So two products that are going to help this situation: titanium racing lock wire, I guess you would call that a bolt, and then we have the lock wire here. This is aviation quality stainless steel lock wire. So what this will allow me to do is to put the screw in, or the bolt, and then slip this in like this, and then tighten that up. You have to get in there with a box end wrench and tighten that. But this is the one that's always a pain in the butt. If it strips, if it breaks, it's always got you worried. It doesn't fit very well. It's the one that's always locked up when you get a jet ski and it doesn't want to come out and it strips and you have to grind it off. It's a real pain in the butt. So that's really, I mean, I could end the video. I'll probably show it to you here once it's done so you can see. Maybe I'll do the lock wire too. I think basically you figure out which way it wants to go and you come in with a wire and kind of exact it to not be able to do that. And this is not going to be inspected by an A&P, so I don't really have to worry about it. I just have to know that it's going to keep these from moving. It's basically like a lock washer that's going to go all the way through these little holes. If you're not familiar with it, this is how a lot of the aviation is done. You would have a airplane, or what is it, airframe and power plant guy, A&P, and then he's going to lock wire certain things like by law, or else no one can go up in it. So that's what this is. Basically a tip for anybody who needs to know exactly how to keep these from coming back out, because if these come out and you're in the middle of the lake, you're done for, because this is going to let water, not only a water jacket, come out into your jet, which will flood the inside, but it's also going to have exhaust go to the inside, which will be the exhaust that it's breathing to try to run, and it will run out of oxygen, so it'll start to sputter, it won't run well, and you'll have water inside. So this is like a big deal. It should be done right. So I did get that lock wire at Pilot Mall. Not really familiar, but I think this might be going on my jet. Might throw people off a bit. But you know, vandalism of airplanes is like a big deal, but boats not so much, because you're just dead in the water, right? You got to screw loose on an airplane, you're out of the sky. You got to screw loose on a boat, it's really not that big of a deal. Now, I don't really suspect vandalism necessarily. I kind of don't, because I have a lot of experience with RC helicopters, and I got to tell you, things will unscrew on you. It's God. But anyway, there's Pilot Mall. So I ground that with the gasket on, and now I've got the gasket off. I'm going to reuse this gasket because I don't have time to wait for another one. But honestly, how thin that got, I really wish I hadn't ground that with the gasket on there, but I'm going to try to make do. So I'm going to go ahead and Loctite these with blue Loctite. I won't run it for a few days to make sure that that hardens, but I will be having lock wires, so it won't be that big of a deal. But this guy will go on like this. I'm using this copper ultra. I think a lot of times people use different color, or they might use a gasket. This is like a gasket maker. Some people just use like a gasket dressing. This may be part of the reason why it comes off, because this gives it a rubbery type of consistency. When you put it down, the RTV is going to be a little bit rubbery, and that might not be really great. In fact, I had thought about putting this on dry, but again, with the lock wire, I don't think it's going to be a big issue because it's going to lock it in. But really don't want to leak here also. So if you don't use the RTV and you go dry, I don't blame you, but I'm putting RTV on. And if you use something else, I don't blame you there either. But I'm using copper. I think it looks cool. And I think they're all kind of the same, and they're just trying to have you buy more than one and have one dry up and come get another one. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's malicious. Maybe they're pretty good at one thing or another, but I just buy the copper stuff. We got the blue thread locker. We've seen it. And then I'm just going to hammer them in by hand. A lot of times this is torqued, and I have a torque wrench, but honestly, I almost just feel like hammering them down in and locking them in. There is some expansion and contraction here, and I think if you hammer them down too hard, it can break the bolt, which I did have happen. So, but I think that was because I turned really quickly, and I think it was loose, and one of the bolts was still on, and things were moving around, and I think that broke it. So that's my theory. Anyway, I'm going to put it back together. This is going to be a separate video and also part of my rebuild video. So if you want to see more detail, check out my rebuild video. I can leave a link in the description, but this is just going to be for the lock wire. Alright, so I did put that down, and I needed two hands, so I wasn't able to get that on camera, but basically I set this on carefully with that screw with some Loctite, and it's a bolt. But this one's Loctited. Get that going. Now it's a sensitive subject. You put information like this on the internet and you haven't done 10,000 of them, so to anybody that's done 1,000, if you're a Rotax guy and your middle name is Rotax, I understand what it's like to devote your life to something, definitely, and what that means and how you feel that you should get the business. But I'm not getting any business. I just put this YouTube video out there, and I'm going to say where you can get these titanium screws. And these were actually from China, shipped over, and it took a while. And I didn't notice that. I think you can get them more locally. Someone already has them, or they make them themselves. But these were actually from overseas, and I didn't even check. I just thought I saw a titanium lock wire, and they were hard to find, and I wanted to get threads all the way up the top, but it stops right there. And that's all I could find, so I just pulled the trigger on them. Unfortunately, this one needs to go right there. It might be really hard to get to this one. There could be more to this than meets the eye, so hopefully not. If so, then we'll be drilling a hole in the hole so I can get this done. So it's a pain, but that one's going to be really hard to get to. I don't know. This could be pretty tough. And then this just barely gets it from back here. This is a real pain in the butt, but this thing always is. No matter what, this is a pain in the butt. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and fumble with it. There's 4 bolts. There's one here, one here. This is the one that I ground. This one's the hardest one to get to, believe that or not. And I was not able to get it to it with this wrench. It's too long. It hits the outside. Now this is a Pittsburgh. You know where you can get these at Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight. Honestly, if you bought one and cut it right here, it would be really handy. You could have a full size 10. You could have one cut about right here for just getting back over here. it feels like it was starting to bind, but what was happening is this corner was getting into the metal. So you kind of got to back it off until it's down far enough that you can get a good grab on it. But if it feels like it's stuck, a lot of times this corner is going in there and getting into metal. So it's a tough job to get these down in there. This one was tough. These weren't real bad at all. This one, not too bad, but I had to grind that. But yeah, if you get one of these, if you get it down to about 4 inches, it'll be a nice little stubby for this job. 4.5, 5. I was able to do it with the full Pittsburgh, the full 10 millimeter. I was able to do it. It would have been handy about right there. So other than that, I'm just going to do the lock wire now. Okay, let me just put out that disclaimer. Full disclaimer. Enough said. Alright, so this is going to be in the shape of like basically a Z. The wire goes in, and if it wants to come out, that's going to mean this side wants to go this way. So we enter here, and then we go to here, so that it goes through here, goes over here, and goes through there. So like I say, I'll leave a link in the description to where I learned something about this, because I actually knew nothing. I had seen it in airplanes, and you can just look at them and see what's going on. It's not rocket science, although a lot of thought has been put into how to do it correctly. But I guess they're saying aviation style is like this. So the tools I'm using, they're kind of old and beat up, but freshly oiled. I got a grabber and I got a cutter. Tools are like people, they start wearing out, but nobody says anything about the people, but the tools, they want to say something. You can put makeup on tools. If you want. You can flake off. There you go. So you get it on there and then just twist it around. The one on the outside you want to twist underneath this other wire. So whichever's furthest away you go down with. And you start twisting them. Then you can size it for about how far it goes and then start twisting on it. They make some nice tools for this that I don't own. And they say like 8 twists per inch or something. I don't know. For this use case, it's not a big deal. If this is on there at all, you're ahead. Oh, you can yank on it. There's nothing here that's going to matter a whole lot. This is just a jet ski. You just want to make sure we don't get stuck. I'm trying to give you a camera angle. My hands are filthy. If you're looking for a good video on this, look at the description. It's going to be way better. This is just a visual of it being done on a jet ski. I have no affiliation to the person, but they put out a decent video that I am assuming is correct. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It looks like the lock wire I've seen on airplanes though, so yeah, I've seen people become AMPs and be successful at that. Man, this needs to be a little tighter. Alright, now it's tight. That's tight. So now, finish and twist. If I had any advice for you on this, it'd be to yank it hard and don't settle for not tight. This is nice and tight. That's not going to budge. Give it a good yank, pull it through. Tighten it up. There you go. Don't break it. There we go. There we go. Maybe just bend this around a little bit. Alright, I got this other one done. It's not quite as good as the first one. It only went through on one side. The wire went through one time instead of looping through and twice. It's just one and then goes on the outside of the other side. In that link I provided in the description, there's more information on that type. I don't know if you can see it. It was a real pain down there, but you can see it's just gone through once. It's only so tight, but it's 1,000 times better than nothing. So if I had to do this all over again, honestly, I think I would start here and go to here, and then start at this one and go to here, because you can finalize these in this open area, and you can start these out here. And I think it would work better that way. So yeah, I went just from here to here for the original video so I could show the basic concept. But if I were to do it again, like I say, I'd go from here to here, do one, and here to here. Technically, you could go here, here to here to here, and just do all four in one, but I didn't do that. But anyway, that's it. Well, that's the lock wiring to keep this in place. You won't be stranded out in the middle of the lake. There is a water jacket that goes through here, and also exhaust. It'll kill your whole day, and you could get sunk. So this is a really good idea. Hope you enjoyed the video. Always remember you can shop at my eBay store, GB Hatchery. I sell all kinds of used items on eBay. On my eBay store, GB Hatchery. Other than that, I guess I'll see you in the next video.